Unless you're different, they see you simply as another penguin in the group, another bird in the flock, another slice in the loaf. And that is not something that you want. When you cannot amplify your uniqueness, you're not going to be able to magnify your impact. What are people looking for from someone like yourself that they presently cannot find? And that's typically where you will find your best opportunity to differentiate yourself versus the rest of the crowd.
Today, my guest is Gerry Foster. Gerry, welcome to the show.
Oh, it's so great to be here, Alastair.
Gerry, you and I have been working together for a while because you've been helping me with my branding. And so I'm really excited to have you on the show. Can you tell the listener who may not know you a little bit about who you are?
Well, I am a brand strategist, and my specialty is showing coaches, experts, and other thought leaders how to create a big brand and a message that sells so they can stand out, get noticed, and attract their ideal clients in 60 days or less.
This is awesome. I love it. Okay, let's get into the crux of it. So who is your ideal client and what is the biggest challenge that they're facing?
My ideal client are people who offer any kind of expertise, especially the coaches and the consultants and all of those so-called experts that you specialize in working with. And the biggest challenge that they face is that they're not able to stand out, get noticed, and be remembered for offering something unique so they can then be rewarded for their individuality.
Why are they not getting noticed?
Because they're blending in and not standing out. And they're not amplifying their uniqueness, because when you cannot amplify your uniqueness, you're not going to be able to magnify your impact.
So, okay, can you dig into that for me a little bit? Because I know that this is something that I found really difficult, and a lot of people I talk to find this difficult. They feel, well, I'm not really all that different. I'm a software engineer, or I'm a management consultant, or I'm an accountant. Like, how can you figure out what that is that makes you more unique?
By being able to tap into what's called your brand DNA. And it's those special qualities that you possess that separate you from all the rest. Because unless you have a twin, nobody can think like you, follow up like you, solve problems like you, and all the other amazing things that you can do as an authority in your industry.
Right. So would it be fair to say then that the big misconception here that everybody has is that they think that they're not unique?
Absolutely, because oftentimes they are defining their expertise based on their resume. And you can have all the qualifications in the world. You can have the trainings, the degrees, the education, the certifications. However, when you're looking for potential clients, what they really want to know is how are you different and why are you better versus other options they are probably considering.
Okay, let me dig into this then with you for a moment. Does it really matter that we're different? Why do we have to actually be different?
Because unless you're different, then people are going to commoditize you, which basically means they're going to slot you, put you in a box, and label you as just another whoever or whatever. In other words, by commoditizing you, they see you simply as another penguin in the group, another bird in the flock, another slice in the loaf. And that is not something that you want.
Right. And so, okay, then tell me a little bit more about how somebody who's in that scenario can actually identify what is unique about them that people actually care about, because there's lots of things that are unique about you that your potential clients probably don't care about, like where you're from or things like that, what height you are. But what about the things that they care about? Can you tell me a bit about identifying what those are?
Yeah, that's a great question. They have to find what's called their blue ocean market space, which means you want to plant your flag and stake your claim in what's called untapped market space, where you are saying to your market that you are offering something that is looked upon as being fresh, unique, and original, which keeps them from commoditizing you and you blending in with the rest of the crowd.
Okay, and so tell me then a bit about that blue ocean market space. Is that what you called it?
Yeah, it's called Blue Ocean Market Space, and it's based on a best-selling book that was written years ago for branding gurus like myself. It's like the Bible, right? But the basic idea is for any authority, anyone who's tuning in right now, and you offer any kind of expertise, any kind of skill, talent, or ability, to ask yourself, what are people looking for from someone like yourself that they presently cannot find? And that's typically where you will find your best opportunity to differentiate yourself versus the rest of the crowd.
Right. And so I'm wondering if we can dig into that a bit more. Like, can you get into some specific examples of what that might look like for somebody?
Oh, absolutely. If you ask yourself the question, what is it that people want that they presently cannot find? It usually has to do with one of four areas. Number one, they have a problem that's going unsolved. Number two, they're looking for certain outcomes. They're looking for better results. They want to get from where they are to where they want to be. Or number three, they're looking for what is in their mind is something that seems impossible that could show up in their life or in their business, and they want the impossible to become possible. Or number four, they want to feel a certain way, which usually has to do with they no longer want to experience a negative emotion. No one wants to feel frustrated, stressed out, worried, or whatever. And so I always advise my clients and students to look for opportunities in any of those four areas.
I love it. Brilliant. Really practical. Okay. And so we're looking at our potential clients from the perspective of, okay, we know that there's a problem that they have that they want to solve, or an outcome or a result that they're looking for. Maybe there's something, and we can get into this because this is a really interesting one. They want the impossible, and so there's something there, or they want to feel, or preferably not to feel a certain way. And
Yes.
I can resonate with that one. Let's talk about people who want the impossible. Can you just kind of flesh that out for me a bit? I don't think I really have that one.
A lot of times that's someone who feels they are in a dire situation. They're in a tough spot themselves, individually, perhaps their family or their company. And they tried everything in their mind to turn things around. And so they're looking to you to have not necessarily that magic pill or that silver bullet, but they're looking for you to bring forth a new way of being able to get them what it is exactly that they think that they really want and have not been able to obtain. Now, the key, though, is for them to realize that they can have new possibilities because it no longer has to be based on their past. And so you as an expert, as an authority, you have to bring forth a whole new future for someone that is no longer limited by their past.
Okay. And how is that different from somebody who is looking for an outcome or a solution to a problem?
Well, in my world, we call this miracle branding. And the extreme example of that, my friend, is when people are trying to sell the fantasy of what seems impossible. That's someone saying, hey, we'll show you how to lose 20 pounds in 20 days without going hungry. Or, hey, we can get rid of your belly fat in 10 days. Or, hey, we'll get rid of your migraine headache in 5 minutes. Or, men, try the ab machine because if you're sitting on your couch, you can have a 6-pack ab in just 30 days, right? So the fantasy is when someone goes, wow, I can really have that. So anyone who offers expertise probably has a potential client who's looking at their circumstances, they're looking at their condition, they're looking at whatever's going on with them, and to them, they just don't know what to do. And if you can brand yourself around your ability to make something happen that they do not think can happen, oh my goodness, that's when incredible things will start to show up in your own business.
Right, really interesting. And what mistake do people make then when they're trying to first of all to pick that problem or trying to pick that area? What mistakes do experts make?
Typically, they believe that marketing is the holy grail. And they think that, for example, all they really need is a website or an offer or a landing page or some kind of message. And it's not that simple. They don't understand that the most successful companies on the planet, from the big boys all the way to the sole proprietors, they understand that there's a sequence for scaling. And that sequence is brand, market, sell. You nail down your brand first, and then you market and sell the heck out of your brand, because the goal of branding is for you to get known so that marketing can get you found and selling can get you paid. And so they're out of sequence. They're skipping the branding part, thinking that they've got a brand because they got a logo or something, and they go into marketing, but the marketing is not going to work the way it should because the branding is not in place, and the branding and the marketing have to mesh together so that they can then get the kind of revenue results that they're seeking.
Okay, so how does this apply then? Because I can see how this applies to, big box brands, Procter & Gamble and all of these guys. How does this apply to somebody who is an independent consultant or a business coach or something like that?
It really applies because they have to remember you're not offering a product. You're not offering a tangible physical object where the consumer can check you out in advance. Because think about it, Alastair, with a product, you can sample the goods quite often in advance. You can see, taste, touch, smell, or hear it. You can have the kids go into the pet shop, play with the puppy. Trader Joe's here in America, before the pandemic, you could go into Trader Joe's and try the food samples. We could do whatever we have to do with a physical product before we have to pay for anything. And so if you're offering any kind of expertise in the eyes of your buyer, you're selling what? Vapor. You're selling the invisible. And so the key from a strategic branding standpoint, which is my specialty, is that I show you how to take the invisible and make it visible in their mind as if it were a physical product. And that in itself is going to help you land more clients.
Talk a little bit more about that. Like, how can you take something that is intangible like that and make that a real thing for somebody?
What I do is I show them how to have what's called your secret sauce. That special way that you can deliver value in a way that no one else can, that you can deliver outcomes in a way that nobody even comes close to. And the key then is to not offer services, because if you say you offer services, that in itself makes you sound generic. Instead, you want to say you have a system or a process or a method or an approach or formula or a path that you put people on, whereby you're going to say to them, we're going to do this, and then we're going to follow with that, and boom, 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 boom. Where now, in the eyes of your buyer, your prospect, they understand that, okay, if I work with you and follow whatever that system is, quote unquote, I'm going to get the results that I'm looking for. And so now it feels like a tangible physical product to them. So the point is that the nuances of branding services is very different than a tangible item. And I think what happens is that a lot of experts, they don't realize that. And so they go down the wrong path with their branding, because the kind of branding that they're probably engaging in is better suited for a product as opposed to their expertise.
That's super interesting. I love the way you're kind of you're fleshing out the process that people have, and because it is the service. Like we're talking about the same thing, but you're just talking about it in a different way, and you're putting that structure around it so that people can see this is an actual thing, and that makes a lot of sense. So I really like that. Let me ask you, what is something that people misunderstand about this whole process?
That a brand is a logo, or a brand is something that you can see. And I always tell people, Alastair, that if you really believe that the aesthetics that you provide, your colors, the use of photography, the layout and design of your website, if you really think that people are going to do business with you just because of how you look, you are totally missing the mark. The example that I like to use in product branding is, let's take Coke and Pepsi. I doubt if the Coca-Cola drinkers prefer Coke because it's in the red can and the Pepsi people because it's in the blue can. It's what's inside the can that counts. And so the question for any kind of coach, consultant, expert is what's inside your can, so that you can truly provide the essence of what you have, so that people see you as being second to none.
What is something that you believe that most people in marketing and branding don't believe?
That you need a big budget to do branding, or that branding is all fluff, or that branding is something that the big companies do. Oh, no, no, no. Listen, in the world that we live in today, because of what's happened, especially since the pandemic, the online marketplace is super crowded, especially for those of you who offer any kind of service. And I'm including professionals here as well. What's going on now is that unless you do what? Shape perceptions of how people perceive you, they're going to slot you in with the rest of the crowd. And so branding is now considered the number one business building tool for any kind of entrepreneur, because you have to shape perceptions. You have to get people to see you as being the only one who does what you do in a special way, that you do it like your secret sauce, so that you don't come across as being me too or me also.
Is there anything that makes you angry about the way that people in branding and marketing talk?
Yeah, one of the things that bugs me is the word branding gets thrown around, and they want to lump us all together. And the thing is that there's a lot of layers to branding. And I've made branding my life's work, as you know. It's the only thing I've done for over 30 plus years. I live and breathe branding. I love all things branding. And so there are what I call Easter eggs. So you may have a branding person out there, and their Easter egg is brand design. So they're doing the logos and the color schemes and all the aesthetics. And then someone else, their Easter egg may be brand storytelling. Someone else may do branded websites. Someone else may do social media branding. Someone else may do promotional product branding with their logos and whatnot on caps and t-shirts. Somebody else may do what's called brand archetypes. I mean, there's all these different layers. I do what people call the hard stuff, which is nailing down what exactly makes you different and better, so that you're looked upon as being the only choice as opposed to simply another choice. And that's done strategically, my friend, not by relying on those other Easter eggs, I say.
Tell me a little bit about what you mean when you say it's done strategically. What does that mean to you?
Well, in today's market, you really have to establish yourself as being preeminent in your space. And I believe that all of us are born with innate gifts. And so what I do is I show experts and coaches and professionals how to do what? Uncover your talents, so that you're looked upon as being not run of the mill, but rather head and shoulders above the rest of the crowd. So when you think about it, we've got to nail down what makes you distinct, what makes you unique. How do you deliver value in a way that nobody else can? What problems do you solve? What outcomes do you deliver? What's going to be your brand promise? What's going to be your message? What's going to be your secret sauce? What is it about you that says to the rest of the marketplace that you run a class by yourself? And that's done strategically, right? As opposed to the other way. Someone just said to me the other day, "Oh, Gerry, I see what you do. You do the meat and potato stuff. You let other people do the superficial stuff."
Love it, love it. Is there a surprising thing or story that people don't know about you?
Yes, that I have been doing this for 30 plus years. I started my brand development and training company full time in 1985. Yes, I was 10 years old. Yes, dinosaurs are roaming the earth and Jesus was wearing sandals, okay? But the point of it, though, is that with seniority comes wisdom. And I've had the opportunity for 30 plus years. I've actually helped over 100,000 small businesses from over 600 different industries, primarily service-based industries. I've helped them with their branding. And so in the branding universe that I orbit in, I'm regarded, if you Google me, I'm regarded as a bona fide branding guy, the real deal. And I'm very proud of that.
100%. 100%. Is there any one action that you would recommend that somebody, let's say like an independent consultant or some sort of service based expert, is there any one action that you would recommend them to go and take as a result of listening to this in terms of improving their own branding?
Absolutely. It would be to find your edge, because it's getting harder and harder as the market gets more and more crowded. And so you have to ask yourself, what are people looking for from someone like yourself that they presently cannot find? So that you can say to them, I know you've been looking for A, B, and C from someone like me, but you've been settling for D, E, and F. And guess what? I've got the A, B, and C you've been looking for. And you want to know why I can deliver it and nobody else can? Because nobody has my secret sauce, because there's only one.
Great answer. Is there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't ask you today?
I would say just realize that building successful companies, there are a lot of moving parts that go into that. We all know that. However, you have to make the decision. Do you want to show up as a service provider, or do you want to show up as a brand? Because if you just want to show up as a service provider, then you're just going to fade into the background with the rest of the crowd, and you're going to be forced to compete on price. And brands like Starbucks and brands like Nike have shown us, for example, that the products they offer are less important than the brands they purchase, because we live in a brand conscious world. People prefer to do business with brands, especially at the small business level of a solopreneur offering expertise, because when we think about brands, we know what we're going to get from that brand. There's no surprise if we walk into McDonald's. We know what it's going to taste like. We know what the experience is going to be like when we walk into a Starbucks, right? There is something that we associate with the brand name itself. And so one of the biggest mistakes that so many entrepreneurs make is that they have not established what do they want people to associate with their name, as opposed to telling people what they do. We can talk more about that.
But not today, because we're going to run out of time.
Okay.
Gerry, thank you so much for coming on the show. If people want to find more about you and your services, where should they go?
GerryFosterBranding.com. That's Gerry with a G, Gerry, FosterBranding.com. And it's Gerry with a G because my birth name is Gerald, okay? So it's Gerry with a G as opposed to Gerald, which would be Gerry with a J. And so you can go to my website. You can also find me on all the socials, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And just Google me, and I have a pretty big footprint online.
Awesome. Well, it's been great to talk to you about, a topic that a lot of people kind of don't really understand. And so thank you for helping to simplify that for us.
And if I may say one last thing, today's environment, you either have a brand or you risk being bland.
What a great way to close it. Thank you so much, Gerry.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Recognized Authority with Alastair McDermott. Subscribe today and don't miss an episode. Find out more at therecognizedauthority.com.